If you had asked anyone who knew us, they would have said Emily and I were the golden couple. The construction guy who built houses with his own two hands. The dazzling corporate woman who walked into every room like she already owned it. We were supposed to be unstoppable. Turns out we were. Just not in the way I'd hoped. I met Emily 5 years ago at a charity event my company had sponsored. She wore this black dress that hugged every curve and a smile sharp enough to cut glass. When she laughed at my joke about drywall being the most exciting material in construction, I thought, this is it. This is my person. For a while, it felt that way. Fast forward to a year ago, she got a promotion. Senior marketing director for a major firm downtown. Late nights, business trips, sudden strategy meetings, that ran past midnight. I trusted her. Because that's what you do when you love someone so much it guts you just to imagine them hurting you. The first crack in the perfect picture wasn't some dramatic discovery. It was a text. One night, she was in the shower. Her phone buzzed on the dresser. A message from Jared Weston, her boss. Can't wait to see you again tonight, gorgeous. Wear that black number I love. I stared at the screen, feeling my stomach twist into a knot so tight it could have anchored a cruise ship. My first thought wasn't rage. It was denial. No way. Maybe it was some weird office joke. Maybe Jared was an idiot who flirted with everyone. Maybe, and this was the biggest lie I told myself, maybe she would have already shut it down if it meant anything. I put the phone back where it was. Didn't say a word when she came out, dripping water across the carpet, laughing about how work has been crazy. I didn't even confront her. Not yet. Because somewhere deep down, I already knew, this wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. And if she had a plan, I was damn well going to have one too. The next morning, I started laying the groundwork. I wasn't loud about it. I got smart. First step? I called a buddy from my college days who ran a private security firm. Told him I needed some quiet work done, nothing illegal, just confirmations. Within a week, I had what I needed. Screenshots of her location history. Receipts from out-of-town hotels where no company events were happening. A few blurry photos of her with Jared, holding hands like high school sweethearts, slipping into a Marriott under fake names. I remember sitting in my truck one night, looking through the manila folder he handed me. The pictures didn't even hurt. Not like I thought they would. What hurt was realizing how small she must think I was. That she believed she could walk over me and I'd just stay. She had no idea. She had no damn idea. The real moment it all clicked, the moment I stopped being sad and started getting dangerous, was 2 weeks later, at a work party I attended as her dutiful husband. The company was celebrating its 25th anniversary. Big gala. Fancy hotel ballroom. Champagne flowing like waterfalls. I stood in the corner, nursing a glass of whiskey, watching her. Emily moved through the crowd like a politician, all fake smiles, leaning in just a little too close, laughing just a little too loud. Jared wasn't far behind her, trailing her like a stray dog convinced he'd already found a home. At one point, he even clapped me on the back like we were old friends. Man, you're lucky, he slurred, half-drunk. Got yourself a real catch. I smiled. Tight. Sharp enough to cut deep. Yeah, I said. Real lucky. Inside, though? Inside, I was already counting down the minutes to their destruction. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table, writing a list. Every chance she thought I was too stupid, too trusting, too good to notice. And when the list was done, I made another one. Every tool I had at my disposal. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to bury her. Not with shouting. With facts. With cold, undeniable truth. With the kind of exposure you can't scrub clean with a PR apology or a staged social media post. Emily Weston thought she was untouchable. She was about to find out exactly how wrong she was. The next morning, the world still looked the same. Coffee brewed. Sunlight broke over the fence. Emily kissed me goodbye like she hadn't just shattered our marriage in secret. Big meeting today, she chirped, tossing her bag over her shoulder. Might be late. I kissed her cheek, smiled, said, no problem. Inside, I wanted to laugh so hard my ribs would snap. She thought she was winning. She had no idea I was already pulling the strings. First move, I called a guy I knew from another lifetime. Bobby Hernandez. IT specialist, privacy consultant, professional cleaner. For the right price, Bobby could recover things most people thought were deleted forever. especially when the cloud backups were sloppily synced to a shared account, like the one Emily and I had started years ago, and she'd apparently forgotten about. 2 days later, Bobby handed me a portable hard drive. Everything from her phone, he said. Texts, photos, app activity. You sure you want to see it? I nodded, even though a part of me was already rotting inside. I waited until that night, after Emily left for her strategy dinner, before plugging it in. I thought I'd be numb. I thought nothing could surprise me after what I already knew. I was wrong. There were dozens of texts, way more than I expected. Not just the typical, "Miss you, babe," garbage. Real plans, real intimacy. Her calling Jared. My future. Him telling her she deserved better than some guy who swings a hammer. Every word was a knife, but not because I still loved her. Because I realized she had never respected me. Not for one goddamn minute. I sat there until 3 in the morning, scrolling through their filth. Then I started working. I compiled everything into a neat little presentation. Labeled every date. Cross-referenced hotel stays with company event calendars. Highlighted use of the company credit card for personal expenses. A major policy violation. By dawn, I had a portfolio that would make any HR department salivate. It wasn't just about ruining her personally. It was about burning their whole little fantasy world to the ground. Over the next week, I played the part. The doting husband. The supportive partner. I even suggested we plan a vacation once things settled down. Emily smiled wide, kissed me longer than usual. You're the best, she murmured against my mouth. Meanwhile, I was finalizing plans with a lawyer who specialized in scorched earth divorces. You could almost feel bad for her, if you didn't know what was coming. The company gala was a Friday night. Grand hotel downtown. Red carpet entrance, photographers, press releases about another year of excellence. I wore my best suit, pressed my shirt so crisp it could slice a throat. Emily looked stunning, of course. Red dress, sky-high heels, fake laugh tuned to the perfect frequency. Jared met us at the lobby bar. They tried to play it cool, standing apart, barely glancing at each other. But people in love, or lust, have tells. A brush of fingers too casual, a smile a beat too long. I watched it all, sipped my whiskey, waited. Around 9 p.m., after the CEO gave a rambling speech about integrity and company values, I slipped away, found the AV tech running the projector and audio system in the back, slid him a crisp $500 in an envelope, told him exactly what video file to cue. When the time was right, he just had to hit play. Simple, clean, devastating. Back in the ballroom, the music shifted into something slow and jazzy. Emily was at the center of the dance floor, laughing too loudly at something Jared said. She didn't even see me slip behind the curtains near the stage. The tech caught my eye, gave a tiny nod. My heart thudded once, twice, then steadied. I was the last face she was ever going to see before her perfect life turned into rubble. The ballroom lights dimmed slightly, the way they do before a highlight reel. Everyone turned toward the massive projector screen. At first, it was just a corporate logo. A few shots of smiling employees, boardrooms, product launches. Then the images started to shift. First came the text messages. Can't wait to be alone with you again. I wish I could wake up next to you every day. Then hotel booking confirmations. Jared Weston and Emily Carter, King's Suite, Ocean View. Then a selfie. Jared shirtless, Emily wrapped in a bedsheet, both grinning like smug idiots. All time-stamped. All dated during supposed business trips. The crowd gasped. Whispers turned into sharp, shocked murmurs. The CEO's face went white. Emily's wineglass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the marble floor. Jared staggered forward, trying to block the projector with his body, like that would help. I stepped onto the stage, microphone in hand, looked right at them. I thought tonight would be the perfect time to celebrate, I said, voice calm, carrying through the stunned silence. Not just the company's anniversary, but also the moment I realized integrity is more than just a slogan. Emily's mouth opened, but no words came out. Jared tried to bluster. This is a private matter. You have no right. I cut him off. Actually, Jared, when you use company funds to bankroll your affair, it becomes very public. I let that sit. Let it soak into every shocked face in that ballroom. Then I turned to Emily. Congratulations, babe, I said softly. You just made the whole world your witness. For one long, electric second, nobody moved. The projector kept flashing damning image after damning image behind me. Every click of a news slide was like a gunshot. Emily stood frozen in the middle of the dance floor, hands clenched at her sides, her eyes wide and glassy. Trapped. Jared looked like he might charge the stage, until the CEO himself stepped between us. Big man, double-breasted suit, veins bulging in his neck. "Is this real?" he barked at Jared, voice cutting through the stunned murmurs. Jared opened his mouth, closed it, then opened it again, fumbling like a drunk caught behind the wheel. "Look, it's not what it looks like," he stammered. I laughed once, cold and sharp. "I'd love to hear what it is, Jared. Enlighten us." Emily shook her head violently, like she could somehow rewind the last 10 minutes if she just refused hard enough. "Ben, please," she whispered, stepping toward me. I stepped back, not out of fear, out of disgust. "Don't," I said. "Not here. Not now." Across the room, security was already moving. 2 stocky guys in black suits, earpieces glinting under the lights. The CEO gestured sharply at Jared. "Office. Now." To Emily, he barely spared a look. "You too." For a split second, she looked at me, real panic cracking through that perfect makeup. But I wasn't her lifeline anymore. I was the storm. As they were hustled away, the room buzzed like a kicked beehive. Whispers, gasps, someone audibly saying, "Holy sh*t," in the back. I stepped down from the stage, calm and deliberate. A few people glanced at me like they didn't know whether to applaud or duck. I didn't care. I was here to finish this. 15 minutes later, while the CEO was undoubtedly chewing Jared and Emily into shreds behind closed doors, I was at the valet stand. I handed over my ticket, pulled out my phone, and hit send on an email I'd had drafted for days. It went straight to the company's ethics committee, CCing HR, legal, and, for good measure, a few board members whose names I'd gotten from public filings. Attached were a copy of all the evidence. By the time Jared and Emily even thought about damage control, the noose would already be tightening. And me? I was already driving away, cool night air whipping through the open window, smiling for the first time in months. Emily called that night. 3 times. I let it ring. She left a voicemail, voice raw, desperate. "Ben, please just talk to me. We can fix this. It wasn't supposed to happen this way." I laughed out loud. Fix this? Fix what? Her casual betrayal? Her smug assumption I'd stay quiet while she built her fantasy life on my broken back. She thought this was about an apology. She didn't realize this was a reckoning. The next day, my lawyer filed the divorce papers, delivered by courier, with a little extra gift, a copy of the prenup she'd signed without reading carefully 5 years ago. The clause was simple. Infidelity voids any claims to marital assets. She got nothing. Just her clothes, her debt, and whatever was left of her ruined career. Monday morning, the real avalanche started. Jared was suspended pending an internal investigation. Emily was put on administrative leave, while HR reviewed recent ethical concerns. By noon, word had leaked outside the company walls. First it was whispers, then full-blown gossip, running through the city like wildfire. The golden couple? Exposed as frauds. Corporate email servers? Seized for audit. Social media? An absolute disaster zone. By the end of the week, Jared's LinkedIn said, "Seeking new opportunities." Emily's Instagram had gone private. They were radioactive. Exactly as planned. One afternoon, about a week after the gala, Emily showed up at my house. I didn't answer the door. Watched her through the peephole as she banged with the side of her fist, tears streaking her face. I let her cry. Let her taste the coldness she had served me for months without even blinking. Finally, she slumped against the door, sobbing. "Please, Ben, I messed up. I didn't mean for it to be like this." I leaned close to the wood, close enough that maybe she could feel me on the other side. But I didn't say a word. Not because I had nothing to say. Because she didn't deserve to hear it. That night, I sat on the back porch with a cold beer, staring up at the stars. For the first time in forever, I felt light. Not happy, but free. Emily had built a world on lies. Jared had sold dreams he couldn't pay for. And me? I had been patient. And I was just getting started. 2 weeks after the gala, the lawsuits started flying. Not from me. Not yet. From the company. Turns out, when you steal company resources to bankroll your little office affair, there's something called fiduciary misconduct. Big words. Bigger consequences. Jared was formally terminated. For cause. No severance. No cushy golden parachute. He went from senior vice president to an unemployed, disgraced nobody faster than a cheap umbrella folds in a hurricane. Emily's fate took a little longer. HR moved slower with her, probably trying to figure out how deep her claws were sunk into the company's projects. But deep down, I knew her days were numbered. One morning my lawyer called. "You might want to sit down for this," he said, almost laughing. I didn't sit. I just leaned against the kitchen counter, mug of black coffee in hand. "What's up?" He cleared his throat. "Your wife, sorry, ex-wife-to-be, is being named in a civil suit. Companies claiming reputational damage, breach of ethical standards, and misuse of expense accounts." I took a long sip of coffee. Let it burn all the way down. "Good," I said simply. "Also," he added, "the press got hold of the story. Some business blog picked it up. It's making the rounds." That part made me grin wide. It was one thing for Emily and Jared to lose their jobs. It was another thing entirely for the whole city to know they were frauds. By Friday, it was impossible to miss headlines like, "Corporate Golden Couple Caught in Scandal," "Affair, Fraud, and Fallout at Weston and Company." Emily's face was blurred in the photos, but everyone who mattered already knew. Her whole carefully curated world collapsed in on itself like a dying star. She tried to reach out again. Emails this time. Long, rambling, desperate. I didn't respond. Not once. Because there was nothing left to say. She hadn't made a mistake. She had made a choice. And so had I. One night, about a month after the fallout started, I ran into Jared at a bar downtown. I didn't plan it. Didn't even want it. But fate's funny like that. I was sitting at the bar, minding my own business, nursing a beer after a long day of flipping one of my new properties. Then I heard his voice. Loud. Pathetic. I turned. There he was, slumped over the bar like a washed-up prizefighter who never learned when to stay down. He caught my eye. Squinted. Recognition slowly twisted into rage. "You!" he spat. I didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just raised my glass a little in silent salute. He stumbled over, chest puffed out like he still thought he was the king of something. "You think you won?" he snarled. I set my glass down carefully. Locked eyes with him, steady and unblinking. "I don't think anything," I said, voice low and steady. "I know." He swung at me. Sloppy. Wild. I sidestepped easily, watching him nearly fall on his face. The bartender was already dialing security. I didn't even touch him. Didn't need to. Watching him humiliate himself was better than any punch I could have thrown. As they dragged him out, still cursing, I smiled to myself. Sometimes you don't have to destroy your enemies. Sometimes you just give them enough rope and let them hang themselves. Meanwhile, Emily's life kept unraveling. Her friends ghosted her. Her Instagram turned into a barren wasteland of old selfies and desperate gratitude posts nobody liked. She moved into a tiny apartment across town. Word was, her parents cut her off after the scandal embarrassed them at their country club. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. But I wasn't done yet. Because you see, Emily still had one last dream she thought she could cling to. She was trying to launch a new, consulting business, some vague, influencer-style nonsense about branding and personal development. She even put up a slick little website. All polished smiles and fake wisdom quotes. I could have let it go. Could have let her live whatever hollow shell of a life she could scrape together. But no. Not after everything. I made one phone call. To a friend in PR. Someone who owed me a favor. Tipped them off about Emily's little project. Mentioned casually that her resume might not hold up to scrutiny. Especially with a pending civil suit and an ongoing ethics investigation. Within a week, her site was blacklisted by 2 major professional organizations. Her LinkedIn page was suspended for identity misrepresentation. Whatever future she thought she had? Gone. Like smoke in the wind. I didn't dance in the streets. Didn't throw a party. I just sat on my back porch one night, watching the sun sink behind the hills, and thought, this is what justice looks like. Not rage. Not screaming. Just cold, clean, merciless consequences. Exactly the kind of justice she thought she was too smart to ever face. I should have known she wouldn't go quietly. People like Emily don't accept consequences. They rewrite the story until they're the victim. It started small. A few pity posts on her Instagram. Long captions about learning to forgive yourself, and Surviving betrayal. She didn't name me. Didn't have to. Everyone knew exactly who she was trying to paint as the villain. The loyal husband who built her dreams. The man she betrayed without a second thought. But Emily had always been good at one thing. Selling a lie so beautifully you almost wanted to believe it. A week later, she upped the ante. An article popped up on some local lifestyle blog. Anonymous source shares her journey through heartbreak and redemption. Anonymous, sure. But every detail screamed Emily. I read the whole thing once. Then again, slower. By the end, I wasn't even angry. I was impressed. The pure, weaponized audacity it took to cheat, get caught, lose everything, and still paint herself as the victim? That's talent. Sick, twisted talent. For a few days it almost worked. She got sympathy comments. Messages of support from people who didn't know the full story. Poor Emily. So brave. So strong. It made me sick, but I didn't react. Not publicly. Not emotionally. Because real revenge is patience. The final blow came a week later. A gala. Another one. Different company, different crowd. A fundraiser for a children's hospital. Pure reputation gold. Emily showed up alone. Smiling that same rehearsed smile that had once hooked me so completely. She was working the room hard. Laughing, charming, sliding business cards across tables. Pretending like she wasn't radioactive. Pretending like the past year hadn't happened. I watched from across the room. Didn't approach. Didn't even let her know I was there. I just waited. Because I knew what was coming. I had arranged it 2 days earlier. A simple tip-off. A few discreet emails to the event organizers. Copies of the ethics investigations. Links to the civil suit filings. Evidence tying Emily's name to reputational scandals. All factual. Just the truth. And the truth, when timed right, is more devastating than any lie. I saw it happen. Saw the event manager get pulled aside, whispering urgently. Saw her glance nervously at Emily, then back at the board members huddled in the corner. And then, with the delicacy of someone handling a live grenade, she approached Emily. A quiet word. A polite but firm smile. Emily's face froze. I could practically hear the panic crackling under her skin. She tried to argue. Gestured with both hands. Smiled too hard, laughed too brightly. But it was over. Security didn't drag her out. This wasn't a bar fight. They just ushered her quietly toward the door. Like you would a drunk wedding guest. She left the building alone. Head down. Shoulders stiff. A few people watched. Most didn't even bother. By morning, the event's website had wiped her name from the guest list. Like she'd never been there at all. I didn't follow her. I just turned, walked out the back entrance, and let the night swallow me whole. Because in the end, revenge isn't about making them hurt. It's about making them irrelevant. And tonight, Emily wasn't a villain. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't even a story anymore. She was just nobody. Exactly where she belonged. The funny thing about rage is it burns fast. Hot, violent, blinding. But when the fire burns out, you're just left with silence. And a wide open road. For the first time in over 5 years, I wasn't walking on eggshells. Wasn't second-guessing every glance, every text, every late-night excuse. I woke up to quiet mornings, coffee that tasted better, breath that didn't feel like it weighed 1,000 pounds in my chest. Freedom. It didn't roar. It didn't even sing. It just was. The divorce finalized 3 weeks after the gala incident. Quick, clean. My lawyer sent me the final settlement papers electronically. Emily didn't contest a thing. No counteroffers. No bitter demands. Just a signature on the dotted line. Like a final, pitiful surrender. Part of me wondered if she'd even read it. Probably not. Reading fine print was never her strong suit. I didn't celebrate. Didn't throw a party or pop champagne. I just signed my copy, closed my laptop, and sat there at the kitchen table, staring out the window at the simple, stupid beauty of the world going on without her. A delivery truck honked somewhere down the block. Kids screamed and laughed on their bikes. And me? I just breathed. In. Out. For the first time in years, every breath felt like it actually belonged to me. I focused on work after that. Flipped a few properties. Expanded my small real estate business. Spent weekends sanding decks and power washing brickwork, the way normal people fix their problems, with sweat and patience. There was something about the grind that healed me more than any therapy session ever could. When you tear something down and rebuild it with your own hands, you don't just fix the thing. You fix yourself. About a month later, I ran into someone I hadn't seen since high school. Tara Kelly. We bumped into each other at a hardware store, of all places. I was elbow deep in paint samples. She was arguing with the clerk over drill bits. Same fire she always had. Same sarcasm that made you laugh even when you didn't want to. We got coffee. Talked. Caught up. Turned out, she'd been through her own kind of hell too. A quiet divorce, a career shift, a few battles that had left her leaner but sharper. There was no flirting. No cheesy Hollywood moment where sparks flew. Just comfort. Real solid. A week later, we grabbed drinks again. Then dinner. No pressure. No pretending. Tara didn't ask about Emily. I didn't ask about her ex. We just talked about the stuff that mattered. Favorite beers, worse landlords, stupid things we dreamed of doing someday. It felt easy. Natural. Like finding a road you forgot you loved driving. One night, sitting out on her balcony with cheap beer and better conversation, she said something that stuck with me. "You know what I realized after my divorce?" she said, pulling a blanket tighter around her. "People aren't foundations. They're passengers. You build your own house. If they stay cool, if they jump out, you're still standing." I looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time, I realized, Emily didn't break me. She just revealed the cracks I hadn't fixed yet. And now I wasn't patching over anything. I was rebuilding. The right way. The strong way. A few weeks later, I packed up the last few boxes from the house Emily and I had shared. Didn't take much. Just the essentials. The memories I wanted to keep. The ones that reminded me who I was before she tried to turn me into a stepping stone. As I locked the door behind me one last time, I didn't feel sadness. I didn't even feel anger. Just gratitude. Not for her. Not for the pain. But for the chance to start over. For the clean slate. For the wide-open horizon that stretched out in front of me, gleaming like something new. Something mine. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't making them hurt. It's making yourself whole again. And tonight, standing on that porch, keys in my hand and heart steady in my chest, I knew I was whole. And nothing, not Emily, not betrayal, not even the scars she left, could take that away. Ever again.